In post-war Angola, the land had emerged as a critical point of conflict when involuntarily displaced people have sought sites in emerging cities for their new homes, or sought to formalize their informal occupations during the Civil War. Their lack of tenure security undermines the well-being of the poor and threatens them with mass expropriation. Land readjustment was used to mediate these conflicts in Angola despite its limited culture of participation in urban planning practice and weak local governance.
We've been piloting a participatory approach to land readjustment in Angola over the last 10 years or so. Angola is a particular situation in that it's a post-conflict country, also a post-socialist country. And it's a country where, in fact, there's weak land legislation and to some extent a weak land market. Land is largely informally occupied, and I think that's the biggest challenge for us and for urban development in Angola.
There are at least two well-documented land readjustment projects in Huambo, Bairo Fatima and Bairo Camussamba. The key characteristic of both projects was the de facto recognition of the occupancy rights of existing self-settlers. The Bairo Fatima case was undertaken before decentralization reforms, when local urban planning officials had the authority to legitimize land transactions. The Bairo Camussamba case was implemented afterwards when municipal administrators were given the responsibility but did not have the authority to manage the financial aspects of the program. In both pilot projects, the calculations for redistribution and recapturing of land value increments were not based on any land value study but an estimate. 30% of the pooled land was used for infrastructure. Of the remaining 70%, half was redistributed to previous land occupants and half sold, with funds reinvested into basic infrastructure.
What we've been able to do is develop an approach to land readjustment, making use of those strong informal land markets to create capture value for investment in basic services and basically test some of the models of participatory local community engagement in the process of land readjustment.
Bairo Fatima was perceived to be successful by all stakeholders in incorporating the informal settlements into the formally planned part of the city, as well as benefiting the occupants, because the value of their landholdings increased.
The project, through a land readjustment process of dividing irregular plots into more regularized plots with road access and basic services, allowed us to create about 30-40% more in number of plots, and each one with a higher value than the previous informally occupied plot. So this gave a significant number of plots that could be sold to new migrants who were coming or returning from other provinces at the end of the war. So there was a big demand for land, but that land could be sold, and land that was now recognized with an occupation license, a formalized piece of land that was worth a lot more than the original informally occupied land. So this created the income or the capital necessary for the investment in basic services and for the implementation of the plan.
It also demonstrated the crucial role played by a local NGO, Development Workshop, in building bridges between the land occupants and the government, convincing the former to participate in the project and securing the backing of the latter.
This was a conflict area. This had been a war zone in just 2 years before we piloted the project. So building social capital in the community, building confidence in the community was an important factor. We very much used the social capital that we had built up as a nonprofit organization, as an NGO, in the confidence of local communities and local government as a beginning point. The first stage of the project involved building a stakeholder group that involved traditional leaders in the community leaders, an important component of women, because women-headed households were predominant in the area, but together with local government, the municipality, as well as the provincial government. So building a multi-stakeholder group was the key. And it also built relationships between these different partners that would eventually have to work together in implementing the project.
In Bairo, Camussamba, the municipality lacked actual experience in land readjustment and was not in charge of the financial aspects of land readjustment, and the project failed to be financially sustainable. Besides, many landowners could not be persuaded to participate without the pressure from the majority of landowners. The exercise of government expropriation of land weighed heavily in achieving land occupants' buy-in at the end. The difficulties faced by this project indicate the importance of three factors. A. Community organizing and participation. B. Building land management capacity. And C. Final autonomy of the local authorities to ensure that they can capture the land value increments generated by land redevelopment to finance local infrastructure investments.
In Africa alone, we have countries that have a common law tradition of land management, a civil code tradition like Angola and Portuguese and French speaking countries. There's a strong traditional customary land rights that run throughout Africa. There's the Islamic law that has an effect on land management. The land readjustment needs to be adapted in each of these societies, but in each country, with that probably even within countries, the community relationships will vary, and land readjustment is a tool that may have maybe it's a toolkit rather than a single tool.